Alex Mashinsky, CEO of Celsius Network, joins us again today to talk about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the macroeconomic landscape. There's lots to discuss: inflation, the Fed's response to inflation, and of course, what has been happening to the crypto markets. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so 8 red weekly candles is definitely a new one for the record books. I saw also stats that the stock market drop was faster than even 1929, right? So this is records not just for crypto, but also for the stock market. And you can press a spring as hard as you want, but the harder you press it, the harder it rebounds. And here we're overdue for a rebound.
To me, it still sounds like a moderately, I guess, cautious forecast. They're not particularly optimistic. Is that a sentiment that you've observed from, I guess, crypto investors at large, institutional investors you've worked with, that people are just very cautious about cryptos right now, even despite this drop that we've seen that some would argue is overdone?
So look, crypto divides into people who are hodlers like Michael Saylor, like the Celsius community, that our community of almost 2 million users, they're still adding coins to their positions, and a very large numbers of speculators or traders or people who are just come and go. And you're seeing risk off across the board in the stock market, in the bond market, right, in the crypto market. So this is not something that is just happening here. So again, you have bifurcation. You have continued accumulation by people with conviction, but you're definitely seeing people who are just traders either being wiped out, like the people who were long into this week with options or futures, or people who basically bought a margin. All those guys are getting cleaned out, but when they're done, where they're out, there's no more sellers, right? You just basically are left with the buyers. So yes, we're gonna have lower numbers here, but when we're done with the selling, we should have a nice uptick in prices that comes from coins have been moved from the weak hands to the diamond hands.
What do you think is a fair bottom for us now, given where things are at, and how do you see this progressing into the future? We've talked about the 8-week consecutive decline. What's next is basically what people are wondering.
Yeah, so I'm a little cautious here to call this a bottom, and I'll explain why, right? So none of these things that are happening are basically independent. It's like the Bitcoin market, it runs on its own and it has its own drivers and so on. All these things are connected. So the Bitcoin or the crypto market is watching the stock market is watching the Fed, and the Fed is watching inflation. So for the last 20 or 30 years, the Fed has been sitting on the Pandora box, making sure that the box doesn't open and that the three-headed monster, the dragon of inflation, escapes the Pandora box. But now it escaped. The dragon is out there spewing fire in every market, and the Fed needs to slay the dragon, right? That's the only thing the Fed chairman is focused on. Doesn't matter if the stock market house is on fire, or the bond market house is on fire, or the crypto house is on fire. All the Fed is doing is delaying Bitcoin going to new all-time highs, right? So even with all of this action, inflation, and everything else, you have a long-term trend. The long-term trend is migration from centralization to decentralization, from Web 2 to Web 3. And a lot of that migration involves cryptocurrencies, right? So no matter what happens, it doesn't matter even if there is inflation, all that does is just delays the inevitable, which is a mass adoption of cryptocurrencies across the entire planet. And so the question is just, when are those all-time highs coming? Are they coming this year, the next year, or 3 years from now? So if you're a hodler, again, if you're a Celsius customer and you're just hodling for many years, that doesn't impact you, right? The opposite, you're getting another opportunity to buy Bitcoin at lower prices, right? Because you're averaging in, you're accumulating Bitcoin over time, or Ethereum over time, and you're getting an opportunity to buy something at 30,000 instead of a 60,000. When Bitcoin recovers, it usually recovers 5 to 8x of where it was, or even more, where the stock market will only go up, whatever, 30, 50, 70%. So the rebound, it's a coiled spring, right? The rebound on crypto is always stronger, and it always represents new higher highs and new higher lows.
And you know what people are telling me personally is that, hey, David, I have some cash from selling off my holdings, but I need to deploy it now because it's getting eroded away by inflation. This is just a terrible time to have $4 trillion of dry powder sitting on the sidelines. It's all going to get eroded away by 8.1% CPI. People are really waiting, or they can't wait, rather, to deploy this capital back into the markets. The question is where? The Nasdaq's falling, Bitcoin's falling. Yeah.
We still pay 7.1% on stable coins on USDC and USDT and other coins, and it's one of the best places to deploy US dollars, right? So I think you know, for all the people who are looking for a good place, we've been doing it consistently now for almost 5 years.
Can you explain to the audience then why USDT or USDC won't depeg in the same way Luna can? Or maybe it can. I just want to get your opinion.
Sure. So stablecoins come in three different forms, right? One is fully backed, meaning for every token, there is $1 sitting in a reserve bank account or with the Fed. And those are coins like Paxos or USDC or True USD. We support all of those. And so you can basically just go and exchange your dollar for those, put them on Celsius and earn that 7.1%. Then the second group are over collateralized stable coins. So USDT and DAI are two over collateralized coins. So basically they have reserves that are not, for example, Tether does not have reserves in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Most of the reserves are in cash or commercial paper or other things, and they have attestations. You can go to the website, I think it's tether.io, and look at what they hold. And DAI has Bitcoin and Ethereum as their over collateralized backup, and they were not disrupted, meaning anyone who came to Tether and wanted to redeem $1 got $1, even if they bought it on an exchange for 95 cents. Anyone who wanted to redeem a USDC from Circle or from Coinbase got $1, even if they got it for less than $1 on any exchange. So people have to understand there's a big difference between what it trades on an exchange and what you redeem it for from the issuer. So again, I don't provide attestations about these companies. Every person can go and check this out. I'm just explaining the difference between fully backed, over collateralized, and things like synthetic coins that call themselves, just because somebody calls themselves a stable coin does not make them a stable coin.
Good advice, Alex, as usual. Thank you for your insights. I'll speak to you again next time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me back.